All right, we live. Hello, welcome back, my R2Cs. How y'all doing? It's been a long time. It's been a long time coming, but we back. Hello, welcome, my Real Resilient Conversation crew. It has been a whole month, but it is Monday, and we are back. I'm so excited to have you here. If it is your first time, guess what? It's time for mid-month fill-up, so then you got to come back for the end-of-month fill-up. We do this every second and fourth Monday of the month, because guess what? Time doesn't stop, so we can't stop. We would say can't stop, won't stop, but that take us back to the person we don't want to talk about. So we got to keep this going. If this is your first time, I'm your host, the one that they call Miss Quita. If you are on the karaoke scene, you know me as Miss Giggles. Either way, I am your host for tonight. I am super excited that you have taken 30 minutes out of your time, at least to start with, because we got something special coming up for you. So I take a unique topic, I spin it around a little quirky ways in order to teach you and empower you on how to be more resilient in your everyday life. So because resiliency is something that you know about, but you usually don't talk about, I kind of want to make sure that you stop by, visit, kick your shoes off, get your snacks, because it's going to be some good teaching today. So if you haven't heard, this is your first time hearing about it, guess what? Tonight's topic is talking all about the birthing season. So for my bi-weekly returnees, you know how we do. Go ahead and put it down there in the chat. Let them know what birthing season is about, at least what you think it's about when it's coming to resiliency. And because resiliency is something, like we said, is usually related to your bounce back factor. And so when you're talking about that bounce back thing and you're talking about birthing season, how would you or when would you need to bounce back in what is known as quote unquote your birthing season? Okay, so those of you who don't know, what you do is you put it down there in the chat. Let me see so I can go ahead and talk back to you. This is a conversation. This isn't a one-way right conversation. I like to not feel like I'm talking to myself. I want to hear what you have to say, and we jump on in there, okay? So birthing season can look like a whole bunch of different things. But before I tell you that, I'm super excited. Let me tell you why. Because this is my birthday week. Yes, my birthday week. All right, 41, here I come. So with let me slow it down a second. I want to give a disclaimer. If the word birthing or anything dealing with an infant may be traumatic for you, this may be a triggering episode. So I highly recommend, if that is a trigger for you, to pass on tonight's episode, but make sure that you join back probably next month, because we will have part 2 at the end of the month. So once again, disclaimer that this may be a triggering episode or triggering month in reference to birthing season if you have had some type of trauma as it relates to birth or the loss of a child. Okay, so if so, I kindly ask that you go ahead and take the time out, watch another episode from a previous season, and we would love to have you back come July. All right. Hello, how you doing, Dr. Covington? So good to see you. Thank you so much for the birthday wishes. Thank you all for joining, those of you in Instagram land, those on Facebook, LinkedIn. Oh, goodness, I can't remember the other one. It's one more out there. My brain is not hooking up to, but we still got some of you out there for the first time watching. If this is your first time, you hugged up, loved up, watching it live or on rebroadcast, we want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day. So without further ado, we're going to start off by talking about the birthing promises when it comes to birthing season. And so because the birthing, Twitch, that's the other one. Thank you. Twitch is the other one. I couldn't remember. So when you're talking about birthing promises, usually birthing promises are associated with our stretch in our Christian faith walk. So those of you who may not be Christian, bear with us. We're going to give you some Christian love in here. We're going to give you some scriptures on tonight. If not, then go ahead and scroll past or give me a second, and then we'll keep rolling, okay? But this is the opportunity for you to get closer right? As it relates to your relationship with God and being stretched, right? To manifest what is in the heavenly realm onto the earthly realm. And because that comes a lot of time as it is just as exhausting as having a natural baby as it does with having a spiritual baby. And so what we're going to do is kind of connect the two on tonight. And excuse me, because it is a stretching. It's a stretching of your natural stomach. It's a stretching of your spiritual stomach. It's a stretching of your spiritual cervix. And there's things that has to be dilated, right, and opened up in reference to you getting ready to give birth to the very thing that you have been blessed with. Okay, and so we're going to really start off with different positions when it comes to being pregnant and getting ready to give birth. And because there's different positions, I know most of you all know the one where you're laying with your feet in the stirrups, right? That's your basic knowledge, but there are so many different positions that comes with being able to give birth. And so I really wanted to highlight that there's different positions, because spiritually there's different positions in which we have to be in order for us to give birth to the thing that has been promised to us, right? The thing that we have found out that we are to carry. And when we are carrying these very promises, then there's times that it's going to be comfortable in one season or in one part of our labor to be in this position, and yet there's going to be a time where we have to change positions, right, to get prepared. And so let's just start out by talking about, right, we talked about the one where you're laying, but let's look, there's a supported squat. So if you got either a ball, there's like an open chair type of deal where you have the support. You have someone that's holding you, your supported squat. The birthing pool, which would, if there ever is a time when God allows me to have it, that is what I will be in. The birthing pool. There is a one where you're on your side. Y'all help me out. Those of you who have had kids already, help me out. Help me out. There's a what they call an asymmetrical kneel. That's where you have one knee down and one knee up. So you're kind of like in a kneeling position as if you were going to propose. That's your asymmetrical kneel. Your side lying, you're sitting. They actually have a chair, kind of like the chair that I'm sitting in, except the center is cut out for you to be able to give birth. I learn something new every time. There is, of course, your hands and your knees when you're on your hands and knees. And you kind of do a rocking motion, the one where you're just kneeling as if you were praying, you walking to get yourself prepared, right? That's still a position of movement to get you prepared to give birth. Or even the reclining one. I've seen one where they could just kind of looks like you're in a recliner, you have your feet in the stirrups, but it looks like you're just sitting and being prepared, right? There's going to be different positions that you need to get yourself prepared for in order to get your body ready to get in preparation to deliver. And so because there are, you don't just automatically go in and say, I'm having contractions, and you deliver within the next 10 minutes. Of course not. It's the same thing on the spiritual level, right? You can't just automatically find out that you're pregnant and then the next month you're delivering. Because of course that would be labeled as what? A premature birth, and usually will equate to a stillborn when it comes to the thing in which you were supposed to carry, because it has not had enough time to build up life, to build up the solid organs within what you are going to carry. All right. So looking at, like I said before, you give your 40 weeks, which turns out to be 10 months. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, it's not 9 months, it's usually 10 months. 40 weeks equals 10 months. So you're 10 months of the time that you're carrying. Now it's time, right? You're at the very end, and guess what we're doing? Now we're talking about contractions, where there's different types of contractions. There's, ladies, tell me what it is. It's something, it starts with an H. Oh, goodness. But when you're pregnant, but you're not, I'm sorry, when you're having contractions, but they are not the real contractions. Those of you who have kids, you know what I mean. But you have those type of contractions. But when it is truly time, those contractions are more intense and they are closer together, right? And you're like, Oh, it's coming. That's usually when now you have your water has broken and it is time. And the breaking of the water is, in my mind, is okay, Braxton Hicks, thank you. I knew somebody knew what I was talking about. When you are when that water breaks, it is just like you being baptized in a sense, right? It is time for it to be washed over, and it gives you time to understand that uh, now I am getting ready. This is truly the time, right? But what happens if your water breaks too early? What happens if your water breaks at 6 months? Right now, they have to go through extra parameters to try and prevent you, because that water is a protection, right? That water is protecting your baby from infections, from diseases, from the things on the outside, right? But that water, right, just like a baptism, that water, right, is an identifier that I am protected. And when you are the water breaks and now your protection is no longer there, now there has to be an outside source to protect you. And it's just like on the natural side, right? You hope that your outside sources are really there to protect you, right? We go into our homes, we look at it as a form of protection. What happens when someone invades your home? When you're in your vehicles, and it's supposed to be a way of protection, yet your vehicle endures an accident, right? The things that we think are there to protect us are not always there. They cannot always do the job that we think it has been set out to do. And because of that, now we have to understand the breaking of the water at the right time, right? Just like your contractions at the right time, right? Your dilation of your cervix at the right time is when now it is preparing you for the right time in your season of birthing, to get ready to push, which will be the next stage, right? You're going to push. And for those of you who are familiar with push on the Christian walk side, that's you're going to pray until something happens. Usually, if you are in having those contractions, you are praying anyway, because you are like, God, hurry it up. Let's get this thing over and done with, right? Because of the pain associated with it. When we are in the midst of the pain that is associated with our labor pains, it is not comfortable. Just like it is not comfortable on the spiritual side when you are having these pains. People are leaving your side. You're having to go through more challenging time. Your money is funny. The people that you thought were going to be there have left your side. People that said they will always be your support system, now they are nowhere to be found, right? Now all you can do is push. All you can do is pray. All you can do is be prepared to give birth. One way or the other, this baby has to come. And when we're talking about this thing on the spiritual side, when we're talking about being prepared to bounce into your next season, bounce into parenthood, bounce into, right? Because now you don't get a chance to say, I don't want to be a parent today. After you've given birth, you are a parent indeed. Now, guess what? There are things, there are giftings, there are blessings that God has installed in you that you have carried, that you have nurtured, that you have fed, that you have taken care of, that you have gone to make sure to the spiritual doctor, and on the natural side to the natural doctor, to make sure you are meeting the milestones that you need to meet in order to get to where you need to be, right? So why wouldn't you want to go ahead and be a proud parent of the very thing that God has blessed you with, right? So you want to give birth, but guess what? After you give birth, the baby's there, you're holding your baby. There's still something else you still have to deliver. You're like, I still have to push again. There's still more to it, right? Right? So yes, Dr. Covington, she said transition, labor, contractions is the final phase. Right? That's the final phase. But guess what? The whole time that you have been pregnant, you've been going through all this stretching, all this uncomfortable. Your back is hurting, your hips are hurting, everything is hurting, your neck is hurting, your shoulders are hurting, everything is stretching, everything is moving. There is a shifting, right, in the atmosphere. There's a shifting within your temple for growth. You have to make room. We always say enlarge our territory until it becomes uncomfortable. is what we don't talk about. Enlarge my territory. Oh, God, give me more, give me more. When God gives you more and there's a stretching, you're like, wait. This is uncomfortable though. I don't want to deal with this part, right? The uncomfortable aspect behind having to, number one, go through the contractions, go through the labor pains. Number two, deal with the dilation. That inside, the breaking away, the shedding away of that lining to prepare for you to push. And then when you finally push, if you push too soon before you are fully dilated, they tell you to wait. Right? You give birth, and now you have to still deliver the placenta. And guess what that placenta was doing? Right? And I kind of look at it as God gave it to you. The Holy Ghost was right there. That's kind of like your water, I guess, in some essence, if you want to put it that way. But Jesus was the protector. Jesus was there because he paid it all. That right there, that lining in between you and the rest of the world, guess what? Had to come. It had to come. And it had to be the one that could protect you, the one that died to protect you, the one, right? That's what your placenta is. But you can't get it without it being connected to the one thing that you were to give birth to. It's still connected because your gifting came from above, and even though you delivered it, it's still connected to the one that's above. And because there are some people, which we're going to talk about later, that don't cut the cord. You don't say, okay, now you're here. We're all born into sin, so I'm going to cut the cord, and you have to figure out this thing called life on your own. All right, we're going to talk about this thing called the lotus birth later on here, but I really want you to think about that, right? When it's coming to being able to deliver the placenta, and now you still have to deal with the postpartum side effects. Now you still got to feed the baby, you got to change the baby, you have to really nurture and speak life into this gifting, this blessing. And now you still have to deal with yourself, right? You still have to deal with how it affects you, your mental, your emotional, your spiritual aspect of giving birth to this very thing that you have said that you are ready to carry, right? Even the ones that did not plan on being pregnant, right? But they still had to carry the baby full term. The ones who said, I'm not keeping the baby, I'm giving it up for adoption, somebody else can have access to this blessing and they can take care of it. You still had to carry it, right? So let me not jump too deep because I still got some more surprises for y'all, right? So talking about the types of birth, there's a C-section. A C-section is usually because it has to be cut out of you. You cannot give birth to it. You are not prepared to give birth to the blessing. And so now the baby is not, or your gifting is just not getting ready to be going down the birth canal the way that it should. Or it's breech, meaning that the foot is coming out first. They can't turn the baby around. They can't push the baby back in and turn around and they say, we have to do an emergency C-section. Now it's the cutting away of the flesh in order to get to your blessing. So instead of you being prepared to surrender to the pain that comes behind it in order to give birth to your gifting, your blessing, you have to have someone else to cut away your flesh. So now they have to say, now you're not able to do it. I'm going to do it for you. That's a hard thing when it comes spiritually. Have somebody else to cut away the things of your flesh because you were unwilling or could not do it. Right? How you doing, Dr. Brooks? It's so good to see you. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much, Granny Hambrick, for joining. I appreciate you. All right, so we're talking about a C-section. We just talked about breech. And the breech thing is what's so important about a baby coming out breech, or what makes it a risk, is because now you risk the umbilical cord being wrapped around and choking out the gift that you have taken the last 10 months of your life to carry, or the last fill in the time frame, right? It might not be 10 months, it might be 10 years, it might be 5 years, whatever it might be on the spiritual side, right? But it took you this long to carry all for, right? Because now the gifting is coming out wrong. It's not prepared. Or the gifting was in a rush to get out and it went the wrong way. It got confused in the direction in which it was supposed to have been used for, and the people it was supposed to have been used for at the timing it was supposed to have been used, and it tried to come out too fast. Now it came out the wrong way. Now guess what? Your gifting is being choked out. Now somebody has to push the gift back and say, let me help, let's try and rotate it around to get it back in rightful place, in its rightful place at its rightful time. And when it no longer can, when it no longer does, now we have to do emergency C-section, right? Our water birth is going to be another one. Water birth, like I said, is something that if God ever gave me the opportunity to give birth, it would be a water birth. The water birth is usually done in warm water. It helps with pain. It's usually less traumatic to mother and baby. It's just so many different benefits, right? For me, at least in my mind, to having a water birth. The other one, of course, is our traditional vaginal birth. And last but not least, let me think, it's still one more. This is the one that is trigger warning. The last one would be a stillbirth. Now, stillbirths, meaning that you still have to give birth to the thing that is dead. There is something that happened during that season that just did not go right. And now you're blessing the thing that you were supposed to be giving breath and life to, that was supposed to come out all healthy and happy, is now a stillbirth. But how many know there is still a God that can bring a stillbirth and breathe life right back into it? They do CPR and all of a sudden you hear the beautiful sound of your gifting, your blessing crying, saying that it is alive. Yet there are other times where that stillbirth is just that. Now you have to go home, car seat in hand, without your gift. Now you have to deal with the mental, the emotional, the spiritual side of not having your gift coming to fruition. Everyone that's seen you carrying, they've seen that they were there for the baby shower. They were there, right? They were there to see the things that had to happen in order to get you to this place. However, you still had to give birth to the stillbirth, if that makes sense. So when the baby is no longer moving, right? When you can see it, but you no longer can see it growing into exactly what it was called to be. How do you deal with that, right? And because it can happen, right? Now we have to deal with the spiritual, the emotional ramifications behind it. And now we have to have those people that are in support of when your gifting doesn't come into fruition. Now you have those people that are your spiritual leaders, your friends, your family, your business partners, whoever they were supposed to be for that particular blessing. Those are the people that you need to have in place as your support system. All right. Also, whenever you're giving birth, usually during a vaginal birth, they are using things whenever you cannot push the baby, you're exhausted, you no longer have the strength, but they're telling you just to push just a little bit more, just to get the head through the birthing canal. They use something that they call the birthing forceps, and it grabs the baby head and it pulls. What happens when you are pulling something that is not ready to be pulled? You take the risk of injuring your very gift, your very blessing that you have been carrying, all because you say, I'm exhausted, I can no longer do it. Or they use a vacuum. Now they suction it to the baby's head, the very thing that is so very tender. The soft spot is there, yet they put the suction to the baby's head and pull. All of these things that are pulling on your blessing when it is not time takes the risk of injuring the baby. Now all of a sudden the baby's shoulder is out of socket. The baby is having issues with breathing. You never know what is going to happen with your gift when you allow external factors to try and pull on the very thing that you were made for, you are created to push. And if you can't push, you say, then you're going to have to do a C-section and you're going to have to get it out that way. But you will not pull anything that way. I put it that way. If it's me, I'm telling you now, you're not pulling nothing out of there. If I can't push it, then you will have to cut it out of me, but you will not pull it out of me. All right. So this is another thing that I think is very, very unique and useful is the benefits of having a doula. Like I said, these are just another Miss Quita thing. If I ever had the opportunity to have a doula, it would very well be on my checklist of things and people to have in the room with me. I will have a doula. The doula helps not just you, but they help your spouse. They give suggestions on the techniques, on how you're breathing, on how you're sitting, on some of the positions that you may have forgotten because all you are thinking about is the birthing pains. And now they're going to say, let's go back to our practice of how to breathe. Let's listen to the right music. Let's pray. Let's worship, whatever you need to do in order for you to redirect your pain and the thought of the pain, because now your pain is traumatizing to the very thing that you're supposed to be giving birth to. They feel everything that you're feeling. So you want to minimize the amount of trauma that goes in with you so that it does not transfer to your gift. Make sense? And so they help with pre and postnatal care, talking about preparing for the birth, and then afterwards they're there to help even at home. So they're getting snacks for your other little ones that you may have, taking care of your other blessings that you've already had along the way, right? They're there to help encourage your spouse when you're grumpy, you're going through, and they're there to encourage them when both parents need to get rest. And they're like, okay, I'm going to watch the baby until it's time to wake you up for for you to feed the gift, right? Whatever is in need of, they're there. These have to be people that you have trusted because they have been there throughout your entire pregnancy, right? Sorry, my watch is going off. And I don't know how. I was telling me that I made my steps for the day. Sorry. I'm like, why is there buzzing on my arm? So these are the people that, like I said, help during labor. They're going to help to get you positions. They're going to help massage you. They're going to make sure the water is the correct way if you're doing a water delivery. They're going to make sure if you are at the hospital that the doctors are noted, that they are very much aware of what you're going through, and make sure that they are in place so no one leaves you behind. There is no time for your spouse to have to go and look for anyone. That is the job of your doula to go take care of that, right? You don't want your family members to leave because you don't want them to miss out on anything either. Send your doula to make sure that they are taken care of. Just like on the spiritual side, you have your prophets, apostles, whoever is your doula, the person that is encouraging you, that is giving you your pastors, your teachers, your people that are there in place to help remind you of the techniques to use, that are there to help massage you through the hard times, to help pray with you through the hard times, that are there to bless you financially until you can get on your feet again. Those are your spiritual doulas, right? Just like on the natural side. And so for those of you that are Bible scholars, right? I know that you already know these Bible scriptures, right? And because whenever you're thinking about being birthed and being chosen to be the parent, to be the one to give birth to this blessing at this very season, right? Looking at Ephesians 1, 3, and 4, it says, praise be to God the Father, something to the effect, praise be to God the Father, God and the Father, our Lord Jesus Christ, who has blessed us in the heavenly realms with every spiritual blessing. Every spiritual blessing in Christ. Goodness, me and my memory, y'all. For he has chosen us in her before the creation of the world to be holy and blameless in his sight. You were already created in his before the creation of, he said he knew you, every hair on your head, every wig that you was going to put on, every trial, tribulation you were going to go to, every time that you stumbled and hit your toe, he knew you before the creation of the world, and you were already blameless in his sight. All he wanted you to do was acknowledge him, right? Deuteronomy 14 and 2 says, for you are a people, holy to the Lord your God. You. And so, because out of all the people that he could have chosen, he chose you. He chose you. And that is just so mind-boggling to me, right? Because you are his treasured possession. His treasured possession. And so 1 Peter 2:9 says, but you are a chosen people, a royal priesthood. Come on now. I know y'all heard this one. A holy nation, God's special possession that you may declare the praise of him who called you out of darkness into his marvelous light. You. So with that being said, I would like to offer the opportunity for, guess what? We have special guests. Come on, y'all. Clap it up. Look at our special guests. Yes. I told you I had a gift for y'all already. My special guests, I would like to have them to introduce themselves, really talk about how being chosen has changed your life and has given you the opportunity to really get to this birthing place. And so I'm going to stop talking because I want you all to introduce yourself. Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to put your hands together in the comment section for our very own Miss Terry and Miss Jasmine. Hello, ladies. How you doing?
Hello. Good. Thank you for having us. I'm Jasmine. I'm Jasmine.
I'm Terry. We're excited to be here.
This topic is very relevant to our current life. Chosen is very big to us, so it's amazing that you've also brought up that point. But we're both moms. We're both mothers, so we both understand these birthing pains that you're talking about. And it's an incredible and on-time topic for people right now. Do you have anything?
Yeah, I want to add to that when you consider carrying something that's precious to God, I want to take you back in time. Me and Jazz, we're going to go back in time a little bit. And I'm going to tell you about a dream I had. It was maybe about 10 years ago. And I woke up from this dream and God just kept telling me, chosen, 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 chosen. And I saw pictures and I woke up and I told Jazz, God has given me an assignment. I said, I'm going to need you to draw what I'm saying. And so what I saw, she would draw. And we put it to the side. Because as time went on, I'll tell you something about being pregnant. Do you know that sometimes in this place where you get pregnant, it's called a pause. It's like you pause. You're going through the steps and you're feeling the changes that's going on. But at the same time, it's like your mind is all over the place. Your body is all over the place. Your hormones are all over the place. And you're trying to get to this place to deliver this great promise. But while you're trying to get there, other things are coming along and happening in life as you're traveling down this road to this delivery. So when we got the promise introduced to us, it didn't come right away. Like you said, you don't go to the hospital and say, oh, I'm pregnant, I'm having contractions. And then within a couple of hours, the baby comes. That's a lie, because we just went through that just a couple of years ago with Jazz, as she had my grandson. And it was not a quick thing. We had to go through some things. And the same thing for us with Chosen. When he brought it to us, I didn't really have the time to nurture that thing or bring that thing forth, even though I saw it. I saw a glimpse of it, but at that same time, my husband was here at that time and he was having lots of challenges in his body. So he was having surgery after surgery after surgery after surgery, and he was experiencing so much pain in that body, and we were exhausting a lot of energy to take care of him, get him to the hospital, from the hospital to rehab, from rehab home, and back and forth, 5 different events within a 10-year span of having all these surgeries and all this going on. And so while all of this is going on, Chosen is like on the back burner. I know God called us. I know he chose us for this assignment, but at the same time, the timing wasn't where we could bring forth the promise. The promise, I just literally put so far on the back burner, I wasn't even thinking about it. I'm just going to be real with you. You real on this show, right? I'm just going to make sure. So we put it on the back burner because we couldn't even bring it forth. But I'll tell you this, because he is a God that is the great I am, the lifter up of my head. He is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, my all in all. And in the darkest time of my life, which was just a few months ago, my husband died. And when that happened, I'm sitting here at this very table, and I'm just, my mind's all over the place because it's 2-3 days later, and I'm just sitting here and I'm trying to figure things out, and everything in the world is going on at one time. And I'm like, just sitting here, not thinking or doing anything. Honestly, I'm just sitting here. And all of a sudden, chosen, it just pops up. And I'm thinking, Lord, what you doing? Because what's really going on? I got a lot on my plate. Why are you even showing me this? I mean, really? Right now? And he's like, yeah, right now. And so I'm looking at it, and I told Jazz, I said, okay, I got a lot going on, but this is popping up. I'm going to have to do something about this. I said, Lord, let me just pray. We had the funeral, the service, everything is done and over. And now here we are. And I'm like, Lord, open up the windows of heaven, Lord. You're going to have to order my steps, Lord. I know what you're seeing and what you're showing me, but I don't know the direction that you want me to go. I don't know how this thing is going to be birthed. I don't know if I'm going to be asymmetric, Lord. I don't know if I'm going to be on my knees trying to get this thing out. I don't know if I'm going to walk this thing out. I don't know if I'm going to be reclining. I don't know if I'm going to be rocking. I don't know if you're going to have to do an emergency C-section to bring this thing forward. But whatever you got to do to get this thing out, I cry out on the name that is above every name. And I start saying, Lord, you said I had access. You said I could come boldly before the throne of grace and I could ask anything in your name and that you will do it. Well, baby, do it right now, Lord, because I can't do it. It's beyond my capacity. It's beyond what I can do. I'm here right now. I'm all yours. Use me as you will, Lord. Few weeks pass and it's chosen again. He's still saying it. And I'm still trying to figure it out. Then all of a sudden, people start calling me. And they start asking me about chosen. Like, how did we get here? How did we get here, Lord? So I'm listening. Matter of fact, your cousin was one of them. She called me. She went to the extreme. If you know amen, we're going to leave her right there. You know her. You know, she's real pushy. She's a real pushy now, isn't she? Yeah, she's real pushy, and she's trying to push you into the promise. That's why God said, you know what? You got to have yourself surrounded with some people that in those times when you're struggling, you got these people that's going to be here, that's going to support you, that's going to lead you, that's going to guide you, that's going to be there to say, friend, I got you. Sister, I'm here. I'm going to help you. I'm here for you. And so the more God started showing me about chosen, the next thing he said, I was like, something is missing, Jazz. Something's missing. Draw this picture. And she started drawing. He showed me a picture. It was a cross. Then on a cross, it was a cloth that crossed over it. And then it was a crown of thorns. And then it was another crown that was with it. It was like from one crown to another crown. And he was showing it to me. And I was still like, what's going on? What's going on? Another couple of weeks passed. And all of a sudden I said, this is it, Jazz. I got it. He said, chosen. And then the next thing I heard was, why me? I said, oh my God, Lord. Oh my God. Help me out, Jess.
And on my part, my mom is clearly, she's a pastor. And as a pastor's daughter, you're raised up to get married. There's steps to getting to having a baby. It should not just be happening. But in this time where she first got the vision for chosen, I was still in high school. Nothing had happened yet. Like, this is 10 years ago. So I'm still in church every day, still in Bible study, constantly in my Bible. I'm in my home with my mom. And graduation happens, and I'm 18 now, and you got friends and life and partying. So my life took a whole different turn. And while this is going on, she's still dealing with my dad. She's got her own things going on. I'm coming into this new life of partying, and life is changing. Things are happening. So for me too, chosen was put on a back burner because I knew from a very young age that I was chosen. I've had encounters with angels. I've had encounters with God. I've had amazing things happen to me since I was young. So I knew I was chosen, but I had been so into this bubble with my parents. I was so used to just being in church and just being in home. So, you know, when you go out there, you get a little wild. It goes a little crazy because you're not used to it. You're not used to the scene. You're getting into different things. And fast forward, and now I'm 20, just freshly 21, and I'm pregnant. And I'm in a very toxic, abusive relationship. So it's like a whole hit. It's a whole thing. Like, I've done the drinking and the smoking, and you put whatever XYZ in there. And now I'm in a horrible relationship and I'm pregnant. And it's like, wow, I have to turn around and humble myself and come to my parents and say, like, I need help. I've gone so far off, but now I have something depending on me for its well-being, and I can't stay here. That's another part of pregnancy, is separation. Something you can't do anymore. Someplace you're not going to be pregnant in a club. It's just not happening. You're not pregnant in your little dresses and your heels doing the crazy. Like, it's time to calm down. It's time to put that stuff away. So at that point, I knew I had to make huge changes in order to prepare for what was getting ready to come. And it's the same thing for chosen. You have to set some stuff aside to prepare for this thing that you're trying to birth. Trying to birth chosen physically, I'm trying to prepare to birth a baby. So with all of that happening, I did come back home. My mom helped me get into a great doctor, helped me get prepared for what I was about to go through, but I'm still dealing with this abusive relationship and this toxic relationship. And I still have a child on the way with this person. So I'm battling a whole lot of things. Like, you want to hold on to something, but you know it's not good. And you're trying to do better at the same time. You're trying to be healthy and you're trying to take care of yourself and you're trying to eat. And I'm going to be real. Most people, when you're depressed, you're not trying to eat. You're not trying to go nowhere. You're not trying to get up. You're not trying to walk. You're not trying to take a shot. You want to be in the bed. You want to be sad. You want to cry. But when you have a baby, you don't have time for that. You don't have time to sit in your sadness. You don't have time to sit in your depression. You don't have time to be anxious, because all of that is affecting the thing you're trying to prepare for. It's affecting your child. And I was going in and out of the hospital, bleeding throughout my whole pregnancy. I'm sorry, trigger warning for anybody that's listening to this, but so that was a whole lot in itself with just that. And like I said, I wanted to let go of something, but I was still holding on to it. So in me holding on to something, I got hurt, probably the worst I could ever be hurt in my life, and went through a sexual assault. And that really, really weighed on me trying to do better, me trying to prepare for my child, me trying to be healthy. All of those things, it put a weight on it. So something that was supposed to be beautiful, something that was supposed to be cherished, and you're supposed to be excited. You have a baby shower coming up. All those things were very, very hard for me. And that's what's beautiful about God and beautiful about your blessing, is that once that baby came, all of that went away. And while I was in it, God was working on me so hard. I think that's the closest I've ever been to God, because that's a hard place to be. You have a child on the way. You've had something so terrible happen to your body. People are having to touch you. They're having to examine you. They're having to do all these things. And to have that anxiety and that tenseness, it makes it hard to do something that's supposed to be smooth and relaxed and calm. And that's where that doula that you're speaking of comes into. That's what's so amazing about having my mom, and why Chosen is so important to both of us, because she was that for me. She was the person that was speaking over me. She was the person that was praying for me. She was the person that was praying over my child every single day, reading the Bible to him every single day when I didn't even want to be bothered, when I didn't even have the strength in me to pray. Because let's be real, when stuff happens to you that's detrimental, that's traumatic, sometimes it's hard to turn to God. Sometimes that's the last thing you want to do is turn around and say, God, help me. And he's there the whole time. He's got his arms stretched out. He's waiting for you the whole time. He's there the whole time. Even in your traumatic situation, God is sitting. God showed me in that time when I was being hurt the way I was, that he was sitting there with me. There's no way that I would have been able to get through what I went through the way that I did had not God been there. There's no way the situation happened how it did, that nobody got hurt, that everybody left their whole, I mean, you know what I mean? Nobody was harmed, but God was there throughout that whole thing. All those steps, he was preparing me for the time when I was going to give birth to this beautiful boy. And even in my birth was traumatic. My birth was hard. But still, even afterwards, it never changed. My love for him, for my son, grew even more. My love for God grew. When I finally got to hold him, it was like, God, you did it.
Yes,
because it was not me. You did it, and you got him here. And I know I was chosen to be his mom, because if I wasn't, he wouldn't be here and I wouldn't be here. It's a beautiful thing for me to have my son. It's a beautiful thing for Chosen to be happening, because it's one and the same. They're two separate entities, but it's one and the same, because we're getting ready to do the same thing. And we've both lost. She lost her husband. I lost my dad. He was there for me throughout this whole thing. He never missed a doctor's appointment. He was there when I went to talk to the police about this. He was there for everything. So we're both suffering a loss. But in that loss, God is making something so beautiful. He's birthing something so great. And I know, just like your podcast is doing, it's going to change so many people's lives and bring them so close, so close to God. And I'm so excited for you and for us.
So see, that's why when God said, why me? It was so relevant for us and what we were living and what we were walking out. And for those of you that are listening, I want you to understand something. I want you to understand why it's you, because no one else could do it. No one else could do it. God handpicked me. He handpicked us for this journey because he was going to need us and he was going to use us. And I'm telling you, when much is given, much is required. But God to give me my kid back in one piece, even broken, when God gave her back, and God blessed us with this grandbaby, all I can say is, Lord, I thank you. I praise you. I worship you, God. You are the lifter up of my head. I am so excited. I am so humbled that you chose me for a time such as this. I know that you did it. And you know what was funny about it? I'll tell you something. When all of this happened and Eddie, that's my husband, Eddie, when Eddie died, I tell you, one day I was in HEB, me and Jazz, we were in the store. I just want to keep it real with you. We're in the store, mama, and I'm walking around and I'm looking for stuff. And all of a sudden I'm there and just start crying. I'm in the middle of the store. I don't know what to buy. I'm trying to help somebody out there, because in the 17 years that we had and the energy that I exhausted, which I was so grateful to be able to take care of that man of God, to love on him, to care for him, and to make sure that everything he needed and everything he wanted, the whole 17 years that I was with him, he got. I would do it 1,000 times over just to have one more moment with him. But I'm telling you that at that moment in that store, when I felt like I felt, and I left that place and I'm hearing, why me? But you know what? God down the line told me, because y'all might be super spiritual. You know, you might lose somebody and you'd be like, oh, I know they're with God, and you're so happy and you're so grateful and you're not shedding no tears and you're not crying and you're good. That was not my testimony when he was gone. And I remember how he loved me and how he took care of me. When he left, I was like, God, what is up with this taking my husband? I said, that don't even need a husband and they still got theirs. What's up with this? You took the greatest man on the planet and took him away from me. I'm like, Lord, what in the world do you have going on? And then I said, what did I do? Why didn't you take me too? Why didn't you take me too? I'm just going to be real with you. Why didn't you take me too? Why did I get left behind? I wasn't good enough. Where I'm falling short at. I mean, all these things are running through my mind. I know y'all super spiritual. You ain't never been there. But I'm just trying to tell you from this side of the Jordan, I was like, what is up with you? And why are you taking me through this?
Mm-hmm.
The time was passing. And one day, a preacher called me out the blue early in the morning and sent me a letter. And the letter said, God said he didn't take him. God said he didn't leave you. God said he received him for a job well done. I want to help somebody. What you going to do with that? What you going to do with that? He didn't leave me and he didn't take him. He received them. See, because at the appointed time, God comes to pick up those that's precious to him. That's right. At the appointed time, those that are left behind, God sends them on an assignment that's specifically handpicked for them. Because guess what? In the 17 years, I loved them with all I had. But guess what? Sometimes in those years, I lost my identity because my identity was transferred to him and my energy and my love was transferred to him. And what I needed to do was all about him. And he was nothing but the love of God. I was married to him 17 years. In 17 years, not once did I not hear him tell me every day. Did that man never, ever miss a day telling me how much he loved me and how much he loved Jesus? Never. I tried to make myself think back and figure out or find a day that he didn't do it. And it wasn't one. There ain't one. There ain't one. So guess what? When you get to this place and now God is telling you, come on. You're in the last quarter, sweetie. You about to bring this thing forth. Come on. You're going to go over here and see Miss Quita. You're going to go on there and you're going to tell them how it really is. You're going to open up their eyes and tell them this thing chosen, why me, that he has for us. He showed me years ago that it was a conference and that it was a conference for different people at different seasons, at different times. And the very first conference was going to be chosen, why me. And if you ever lost somebody, you need to be here.
I know that's right.
Because it's going to be on and popping. And God is going to do something miraculous in this community, in my heart, in my family, in my mind, in everything I say, think, or do. He is going to be right there, and he is going to do some amazing things that's going to bring attention to not see. Loss is not just somebody dying. Come on, go back to Jazz. Loss is not just somebody dying. Yeah, Jazz was in a toxic relationship, and yes, Jazz had to go through some hard times, some hard struggles. But guess what? At some point, she had to get on that ladder and say, Lord, I'm not going to let you go till you bless me. I'm not going to let you go till you bless me. I'm not going to let you go till you bless me. Then God had to turn around and honor that request. It's just like 1 Chronicles 4:10 with the prayer of Jabez. You know, Jabez cried out on the Lord God of Israel. And he said, Lord, bless me indeed. Enlarge my territory. See, right now we're trying to enlarge your territory. Enlarge my territory, Lord. Let me not do evil to no one, oh God. Let me cause no pain, God. And then the God of Israel, Isaac and Jacob, come on now, granted him exactly what he requested. So what are you requesting in this time of birthing? In this time of getting yourself in position, and this time of crying out, and this time of worshiping, and this time of praying, and this time acknowledging that God, if it was not for you on my side, where would I be? I'm nothing. Get it straight. I'm nothing without God. I'm a filthy rag, ain't good for nothing. You don't know what you'll get if I take this off and put that on. I got to stay right here. I got to stay grounded and rooted and thankful and grateful and give him all the praise at all times because he deserves it. So I want you to know we're grateful for this moment with you. You're a beautiful woman with a beautiful spirit. So I'm going to turn my hat for a second over to you because I want you to know that when much is given, much is required. And God is calling you higher. You can't stay just right here. You get me? You got to take this thing further. You got to expand your horizons. You got to cry out like you never cried out before, because the thing that God is trying to birth inside of you, it's right there right now. It's laying down, and God is saying, I don't need the quiet giant no more. I don't need that quiet giant no more. I'm going to need you to exalt yourself in the earth. I'm going to need you to take authority over what I'm trying to give you. I'm going to need you to take that thing by force. I'm going to need you to say, Lord, here I am. I ain't scared. Devil, you a lie. I ain't worried. Devil, you a lie. Greater is in me. And when greater is in you, greater is trying to bring out greatness. It's like living water just ready to flow out of you. So you want to be what God wants you to be? He don't need a quiet giant. That was Quita. You ain't quiet no more.
Amen.
Being quiet, you got to roar. Not that roar like this lion that walks around and seeking whom he may devour, but he's a coward. Not that one. I'm talking about that Lion of Judah. That when you cry out and God hear you, God starts answering your prayers and he starts sending a blessing to you. See, because I'm calling it forth right now from the north, south, east, and the west to be a pillar of fire all around you. I call forth the angels. I have the power and the authority given unto me by Jesus. And when he puts me in a place where I can declare anything, I begin to declare and decree exactly what he said. Listen, greater is in you. He do not need no quiet giant. He needs the giant that is roaring inside of you. You have many dreams, many aspirations, and many ideas. Let the Lord use you mightily, beautiful woman of God. And thank you for having me and my beautiful angel here on this beautiful show. We're grateful.
So grateful.
We love you.
Amen. Oh, Jazz, I'm sorry. I know I don't want to jump in there, but I do want to say super quick. Jazz, I am so honored that you took the time to really share that aspect of you. And I know that you probably can't see on the Instagram side, but there are so many people that are like, amen, beautiful woman of God. Thank you so much for being so transparent. The younger people need to hear. And the people that are preachers' kids, as they call them, the PK, right? They always feel like you have to be perfect all the time. And as soon as you are not perfect, as soon as you are going through a tough time, you're going through a toxic relationship, you're going through an abusive relationship, they're like, don't you know better? Didn't God show you? Now it's all these expectations of other people.
Right.
And the people that are on Instagram are saying that it is truly amazing how God has used you for to teach and talk to the young people. So to God be the glory. And of course, to Pastor Terry, you already know that you have been in my heart, in my spirit. It just took the right time when God said, now is the time. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200 until you do exactly called you to do. Right. And I am so honored. I don't take it for granted when God uses the man and woman of God, and at this point the women of God, to really speak back to me and to really be transparent. And I did a lot of the what ifs and why not me, and why am I not a wife? Why am I not a mother? Why haven't I been able to conceive and carry full term, and all of these questions of the why if, the what ifs and the why me's. And then when God said, because I still have something greater, and it has to be with the right person in the right time. So the miscarriage per se on the natural side is just like the miscarriage in the spirit. If you are not prepared, you are not, it is not the right timing. God says, not now. Let me keep it here up in heaven until you're ready, until you're prepared. And it had to be at the right timing. So Jazz, the idea that God still seemed fit to say, no matter what's going on this earthly realm, don't worry, but your blessing is right there. The one that, the little adorable looking little boy that I just seen.
Yes.
You know, it is somebody else who wishes that they even had the opportunity to hold their child. You have that blessing every day.
That's right.
Your mother has that blessing when she looks at you every day to see your daddy, her husband, in you every day.
Every day.
The blessing is already there. The blessing is already there. And now the blessing, now y'all pregnant with your next gift, your next blessing.
Woo!
You already know. So let God use you. I'm just gonna be here for it. I can't wait to be at the conference. I'm gonna be right there, front and center.
Yes. We need you there.
There is so much in store for us all. I am ever so grateful that you all have taken the time to really come on. I know that we are well over our time, but it is in due season, in due timing, that it meant to happen the way that it happened. I don't take it for granted. Time is not of the essence when God's word needed to get across to the people. Your testimony, your your testimony and just your experiences are necessary for the earth to hear. Right? When people are hurting and they feel like nobody else understands because nobody else is going through it.
Right.
They need to hear, right? And so when I tell people that I have went through multiple miscarriages, when I have gone through multiple different types of abusive relationships, and they're like, "You? What? I could never." And I'm like, yes. However, there's so much more in store to come, and I am ever so grateful that God even seen fit to say, and yet you need to meet you, and you need to meet her, and guess what? And cousin over here said, and y'all need to all meet, and we all gonna do this anointed thing together, right? God works in mysterious ways, and I love how He does things. I do not take it for granted. I know that you all can't see who's on Instagram, but there is a mighty woman of God. She is called Infinity of Wealth, and she speaks and anoints people the same way. And how she is just so blessed by you all. I wish that you all could see it on that side. But the blessing that you all have been to her the entire time I've been watching both threads, and she has been ever so blessed by you all sharing your testimony and the walk that God, the pregnancy that God has you all going through at this time, just getting ready for your pushing season. And during that pushing season, I mean, you losing your husband, you losing your father was all about those labor pains. When you're growing, you're being stressed. It's uncomfortable. It's hard. It's frustrating. You're like, now look, I got stretch marks here, and my stomach didn't look like it.
Yes.
Now they look funny, right? It's the uncomfortable. Now you have to get used to this new you.
Yes, exactly.
This new spiritual walk, this new spiritual body, and because now you had to get used to this new physical body on the natural side. It's time to get used to this new spiritual walk and this new spiritual body on the other. So I am thankful. I know that I have some questions for y'all.
Okay.
But I think you answered most of them. We talked about the stages of labor. I think we talked about them. It was just in a different way. And with that being said, I hope that you all come back. I know we're going to do this again at the end of the month. You all are more than welcome to come back as we do part 2, just to kind of expound a little bit more into the birthing process and what that feels like whenever you're on the other side of giving birth, right? The challenges that come after you've given birth. The postpartum, now you have to deal with your body shifting and changing, and that getting back into alignment. So now your body starts to shrink back down. Sometimes it doesn't go down to a year later. Everybody's still asking if you're still pregnant. You like, no, I just haven't launched. Right. Sometimes we still look spiritually pregnant because there was still something else that we didn't let go of yet, right? We hadn't exercised exactly the way that God told us to do to get that thing ready. And so it looks different. It looks different. It feels different. Now you walk different because before your hips weren't as wide. Now you got to get used to that, right? All these different things that come with your postpartum, and you're tired, you're exhausted, you're malnutrition sometimes, you're dehydrated, you like, did I drink, eat anything today? You are beyond delirious in some aspects, but you like, God got me, right? Yeah. Oh, okay.
Right.
So I know that is our time. Thank y'all over here on Instagram. Thank y'all for everybody else on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitch. All of you all for coming back, YouTube, and joining us. It has been a pleasure to meet with none other than Pastor Terry and the one and only Miss Jasmine that have come to give us what Chosen has given into their birthing season. So if you all have enjoyed something that has been said or thought, I earnestly ask that you all go ahead, put it down there in the chat, ask the questions that you all have for Miss Terry and Miss Jasmine before we go. And with that being said, Miss Jasmine, Miss Terry, is there anything that you would like for the people to be able to reach out and ask any last remarks, anything that you would like to ask the people for them to answer, anything of that nature before we go ahead and close out on tonight's show.
Well, my name is Jasmine Hardy, so if you do want to look for me on Facebook, that is my name. It's Jasmine Hardy. But if you guys have any questions with anything regarding anything I've talked about, I'm open to answer your questions.
And as far as Chosen, the conference that we're talking about, first one will be coming up soon. Chosen, why me? So look for it on Facebook, Instagram. Jazz will be posting it. She's my tech girl.
I'm getting it together.
You'll see it soon. You'll see it soon. You'll see it soon.
I'm getting it together.
Okay, well then, look, those of you, if you have not been able to see, all of my information is down there, scrolling across the bottom. Please don't hesitate to reach out, inbox me, email me. If you would like to see more people like Ms. Jazz and Ms. Terry, even if you want them to come back, let us know in the comment section, let us know in the inbox so we can make sure and get more people like this onto the show so they can go ahead and give us their testimonies. We want to know how we can grow, how we can be more resilient, because they had to bounce back from where they were to get to this place. And once again, people are saying great show. They're so proud of the both of you. So
thank you guys.
So
we love you guys.
Yay! We will be back on the 24th of June, 24th of June, where we do this same thing, where we will join in for part 2, once again, part 2 of Real Resilient Conversations, talking about the birthing season. So we will love to see you the same time, same place, with the same face. Love, peace, joy, and happiness. We send to you all. See you soon. Bye-bye.